Man is sadly blind to the message of God's works. Nevertheless, whatever light is kindled for us as we behold God's works, our mind, in attempting to picture both Him and His eternal kingdom, is so carnal that these very clear proofs convey no more to us about them than they do to the blind. When it comes to the structure of the whole wide world, how many of us lift our eyes heavenward? Or in surveying every country on earth, how many think to remember the Creator? And how many, ignoring the workman, look no further than the creature? As for what lies outside the ordinary course of nature, how many there are who see only chance at work, as it tosses and tumbles men about, instead of God's providence which in fact governs them. And if, as inevitably happens to all men, we are sometimes forced to consider God's role in all of this, we no sooner have a vague inkling of some deity or other than we return to the foolish notions of the flesh, and in our vanity we corrupt God's pure truth. Naturally, we are different in one respect, since we all invent some new error peculiar to ourselves. In another respect, however, we are all very much alike. Without exception, we abandon the one true God and follow our own false ideas. Now, this is an evil which afflicts not only the common folk and the dull-witted, but also those who most excel in wisdom and learning. How foolish and stupid has the whole class of philosophers proved to be in this regard. For although we might forgive others who have made outrageous errors, Plato, the most sober and rational of men and the closest to religion, is quite befuddled, for he looks for a corporal God. This is unworthy of God and ill befits His majesty. Where then does that leave the rest of us, given that the leaders whose task it is to enlighten the rest of us have gone so badly wrong? In the same way, although the direction of human affairs points so clearly to providence that it cannot be denied, we can no more profit from it than if we attributed the twists and turns of history to chance. Such is our propensity to futility and error. I am still speaking of the most outstanding minds, not of ordinary intellects whose folly has corrupted and sullied God's truth beyond all measure. Vainly, then, do so many lamps shine for us in the habitation of the world, revealing the Creator's glory, for however far they cast their rays, they cannot put us on the right track. It is true that they emit a few sparks, but these die before they burst into full light. Therefore the Apostle, in the same passage in which he describes the world as the image of things not seen, adds that by faith man understands that the world was created by God's word. By this he means that the invisible deity is mirrored in the form of the world, but that our eyes do not allow us to see it, unless through faith they are illumined by God's inner revelation. When indeed Paul declares that what can be known of God is displayed in the creation of the world, he does not mean the kind of display which the human mind can comprehend, but one whose sole effect is to make men inexcusable. And although the Apostle says elsewhere that we do not have to look far to find God, because he dwells in us, yet in another text he shows what this nearness entails. Hitherto, he writes, God has allowed the nations to go their own way, but he has not left himself without witnesses, sending them blessings from heaven, giving rain and fruitfulness, filling men with food and gladness. While, therefore, God has not left himself without witnesses, since in his liberality he gently invites men to know him, nevertheless they persist in going their own way. That is, they go mortally astray. Now, although we lack the natural ability to rise to the pure and wholesome knowledge of God, yet because it is our fault that we are ignorant, escape is denied us. We cannot rightly claim ignorance without also incurring the charge of indifference and thanklessness. It is surely a weak defense, unworthy to be entertained, for anyone to say that he lacked the ears to hear the truth which dumb creatures proclaim with the loudest and clearest of voices, or to say that he did not have the eyes to see what sightless creatures plainly reveal, or to blame his feebleness of mind for not knowing what every unreasoning creature teaches. Thus we are justly deprived of every excuse, seeing that we stumble uphill and down dale like lost souls, while everything around us points to the path we should take. All this, of course, arises from human failings, for men immediately corrupt the seed of God's knowledge, which nature with marvelous skill has planted in their minds. As a result, it fails to produce good fruit. Yet it remains true that we do not ourselves learn enough from the plain and simple witness which the creation bears to God's greatness. For no sooner do we acquire from our study of the world some small taste of divinity than we abandon the true God. His place is taken by whatever fantasies our brain dreams up, and we give them the credit for God's righteousness, wisdom, goodness, and power. Moreover, we so obscure God's daily works, or else minimize and thus dismiss them, that he is deprived and robbed of the praise and thanks we owe him.